Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday night, Wednesday, February the 4th. We're sorry we're a little delayed. Robert and I were planning out our trip to the Combine. We're going to take the entire radio show and Kirby up to Indianapolis this year, and we are going to have Robert Saleh. We are going to have Mike Borgonzi. We're going to have a lot of fun, cool guests that you guys will enjoy hearing from while we are up in Indy for, 4 nights and 5 days. It's a gauntlet. I was just preparing Robert, who, you want to explain to people how excited you are to go to the Combine in your own words, or do you want me to, try and relay your excitement for you? He's giving me one finger, not the finger that you think he would usually give me in preparation to make an appearance on the show. But Robert has been begging, pleading like a small child to go to the scouting combine in Indy for years at this point with me. And I fought off his advances at every turn. But finally, I have given in, and we're going to take the whole operation up to Indy for a week. You excited?
Yes. I'm very excited. Are you not? Is he not going to be sick?
Oh no, it's one of my favorite weeks of the year. I get to be social. I get to go to basketball games. I get to be a big deal in the streets of Indianapolis. And now I'm going to be saddled with you all.
You're not saddled with me. I'm going to get you. More people are going to talk to you because I'm there. I'm going to get to be. I get to be like when the geeky dude goes on a date with the girl, but then like somebody's in his ear like, hey, say this. And then he says that and the girl's like, damn, this guy's kind of hot. That's going to be me. I'm going to be feeding you information so you actually sound like you know what you're talking about in these situations. And it's going to be symbiotic. I'm going to be the bird that eats the bugs out of the hippo's mouth. You're the hippo. I'm the bird. Kirby's the bug.
I've done 9 of these without you, right? Like I'm perfectly capable of operating the combine on my own.
It's symbiotic. It's kemosabe.
You're a leech, is what you are.
The yin and the yang. No. Anyway, we're gonna have a big time.
We are gonna have a big time. We are gonna take, like I said, all 4 of us are gonna be up there: Robert, Lucas, Kirby, and me. I'm going to take them to an Indiana basketball game on Tuesday night. They're going to embarrass me thoroughly, I'm sure. It'll be a great time had by all. And also we'll do some football shit while we're up there. And we'll have lots of good information. There's always a very newsy week. And it's like 20 days away, 19 days away for the Indianapolis Scouting Combine. So we will have a great time planned or had by all. Bustin' Diamond says, any plans for a Salah interview? Yes. We always do the coach and the GM interview. The first coach and GM interview of the year for us is always at the Combine. So we will have Salah at the table. We will have Borgonzi at the table. And one of the things that I'm going to ask Robert Saleh about, and Mike Borgonzi about, frankly, is the topic of discussion that we're going to have tonight. Because it's a honeymoon thing with your coaching staff. And I know many of you think that I enjoy shitting on everything that makes you happy on a regular basis. But I do think it's fair to talk about things that we're going to be monitoring throughout the course of Robert Saleh's first year as the Titans head coach. And one of those things is his ability to balance the challenge of being an NFL head coach with the calling of defensive plays, which is going to be a first for him. He's been a head coach. He's been a play caller, but he's never done the 2 jobs at the same time. And it's one of the things that I'm most, I don't want to say red flagging, but just flagging. Maybe it's a yellow flag. Like, all right, situation to monitor. It didn't work for the last guy. It's arguably harder on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to read a great quote from Leslie Frazier, the former Vikings head coach, who is now the assistant head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, on Mike McDonald doing this very thing in the Super Bowl, because it is not something no coach as a defensive play caller who is also a head coach has ever won the Super Bowl calling the plays on the defensive side of the ball in a Super Bowl. Bill Belichick did it twice in his tenure, but did not win the Super Bowl that year. Mike McDonald would be the first defensive play calling head coach to win the Super Bowl in NFL history if he were to pull this off this coming Sunday. And so it bears noting, all right, what's Salah up against that's different from what Brian Callahan went through, and you'll hear that explanation from Leslie Frazier here in a second. That's going to be one of the things that we talk about at the Combine, beyond all the prospects and all the different information, all the pre-free agency talk, because, of course, agents will be all over the place, and there will be plenty of rumors to dissect. It's, like I said, a very, very newsy week, and so we always like doing the Combine. I love the Combine. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. And now we will get to see Robert in the wild drunkenly accosting NFL decision makers in a bar with Kirby Allen Kirby, who will be begging them or bumming cigarettes off of them, or honestly loaning out cigarettes to most of the drunk coaches and scouts who will be spending their time at the Combine as well. It's always a big time. Steven Rodriguez says, I love the staff he put together. Yeah, sure. I mean, on paper, it looks great, but there's a couple of different layers to this that we're going to dive into on things that, just a situation to monitor, because the staff that he put together is a collection of failed head coaches, but who obviously were good enough at their respective jobs. Gus Bradley as a defensive coordinator, Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator, Salah as a defensive coordinator, and Bones Fossil, who was an interim head coach. All four of them were terrible in their head coaching stints, but how can they learn from their collective experience and lean on their experience, their successes as coordinators, as quarterbacks coaches, as linebackers coaches, all the things that have brought them to their respective points in this career to come together for a better result? Because, I mean, like Gus Bradley was 14-48 as a head coach in Jacksonville. Dable was 20-40-1 as a head coach. But there's so much experience to be gleaned from there, and you're hoping that becomes a situation where they can mind meld all of these different things together to produce a more successful version of the things that they all tried to recreate or create individually in their last respective spots. So that's one thing. The other thing is the defensive play calling stuff, which we're going to talk about it tonight. Share the show around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You know the routine, however it goes. Like the video wherever you're spending your time with us. Share it around. Text the link to a friend. It's going to be a busy offseason. It's already been a busy offseason. It's only going to get bigger. So we invite you to share this show with all of your Titan fan friends, as we talk about all of these different things. Also, a little bit of a tease. I broke, okay? Not only, I'm getting soft in my old age, all right? I'm taking Robert to the Combine after years of fighting him off on that. And I'm also going to cave on the uniform discussion that we will have next week, because I finally got around to, so many of you have been peppering me about this uniform bullshit, and I finally got around to calling some people, and there is some information that's worth sharing, but we're going to do it next week once we get through the Super Bowl and all of the different football things. We can start to talk about uniforms. Right now, I don't want to devote much brain power to it, but I will tell you that there is some information to be learned. Some of it, is just Reddit bullshit. Some of it is actually tangible, and that's something that we can dive into next week, because I know you all are fired up about your uniforms, your coaches, and all these different things that aren't actual football. But it's fine. We'll get there when the time comes. So Robert Saleh, in his introductory press conference, one of the things that he was asked, and in fact, I do think we have the clip. Your Two Rivers Ford take, by the way, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. What is your biggest concern with Robert Saleh as the Titans head coach? Understanding that you have Dable to run the offensive side of the ball, understanding that you got Fossil to hold down your special teams unit and potentially even improve your special teams unit for how good it was in 2025. Robert Saleh as head coach and defensive play caller. What is your biggest concern about him venturing into this endeavor with some of the things that he has? It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, where they are local, where they are trustworthy, and where they go above and beyond to make the car buying process fast, easy, and more fun. The best in the business is Two Rivers Ford. In fact, we will be whipping a Two Rivers Ford on up to Indianapolis here in just a week. So what's your biggest concern with Robert Saleh as the Titans head coach? Give me your thoughts in the comment section. My biggest one, or my biggest question about him moving forward into this is, all right, he wants to call the defensive plays. How is he going to manage this situation? And I'll tell you, one of the things, probably my least favorite answer from his introductory press conference, there wasn't a lot, to pick apart, but this was probably the most notable thing. And also to me, one of the more problematic answers that he gave.
The lessons you learned from New York. I'm curious, what are some of the specific things that you plan to do differently or you intend to do differently than obviously the
I don't know
Jets
if we have time, man.
Let's start us off with some big ones.
There's little things, I don't want to get in great detail on all that stuff, just for sake of just individuality and all that. But just one thing, and it's such a small thing. I didn't call plays in New York, and I just kind of gave it all to the coordinators, even though we were still part of the game planning and all that. I joke with Borgo on game day when I didn't call plays. I felt like I was just a timeout and red flag guy. I was just kind of I had the greatest seat in the house as a fan. So calling plays for me, it's not necessarily about control, but it's about connecting with the players. When you are a play caller and you are calling plays, you feel the strain that you're putting on them with each call. You're feeling the connection. You're feeling what each one is going through. And again, like I said, I can feel the weight of the play call on individual players in those moments. And to be able to call plays and maintain that connection, maintain that feel for what the players are going through, I think is very, very important from my seat. And it's just one of the many things that'll change throughout my tenure.
So I get what he's saying, right? And like the way that I reacted to it last week, and he spoke, it'll be a week ago tomorrow, was, well, one, if you felt that strongly about it, and maybe he didn't realize it until after the fact, which is completely fair, because my whole point was with that answer was, well, why didn't you take it over? If you felt that you weren't doing the job to the best of your ability, and that being the defensive play caller in New York would give you a better grasp on the situation, you are entitled to make that change. You are the head coach. And maybe that's something that he reflected on after the fact and was like, yeah, if I did something differently, it would be that. That's fine. I did not like how casual he was about being as he called it, the timeout and red flag guy. So the timeout and the challenge flag guy, because he wasn't good at it in New York. Situational awareness is not something, as a head coach, maybe as a defensive play caller, much more situationally aware, but as a head coach in New York, he was not adept with the timeouts and the challenges. He was not successful in those particular situations. It's one of the biggest criticisms of him by Jets fans is, well, you weren't very good at this, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, I was just kind of that guy. Well, yeah, but you weren't very good at being that guy, and so now we're going to add more responsibility to your plate because you're still that guy in that particular situation. Levi Fouts says Dable will help with that a lot. No, Dable's calling the offense. Dable has an entire set. I don't want Brian Dable he's not going to have a challenge flag. He's not going to have Salah's ear while Salah is while he's calling the offense. He's going to be trying to diagnose whatever defense is in front of him. Salah's going to be on the bench going over shit on the iPad with the defense, getting ready for the next defensive series. It will help because Salah won't have to worry about calling offensive plays, obviously. But think about when the timeouts and the challenges are most critical. It's usually on the offensive side of the ball. So all of a sudden, Salah's just going to have to drop the iPad, whip around, look up at wherever he is, hope that the guy in his ear is communicating at a high enough level that he's equipped enough to handle the situation, instead of somebody just yelling, Bob, 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 challenge, now, go, 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 right? Where it's disorienting. There's a million different things happening on the sideline. And that was a huge point that Leslie Frazier brought up. Brady Henderson, who covers the Seahawks, is out in San Francisco, obviously, because the Seahawks are facing the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And this is why I bring this topic up, because I think it's a fascinating topic of discussion that somebody sent me that is worth talking about from the Titans standpoint. And I'll read you the tweet from Brady Henderson before I show you the quote from Leslie Frazier. So Brady Henderson, 36 head coaches have combined to win the first 59 Super Bowls. This will obviously be Super Bowl 60. Well, let me quickly remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people at TDOT, where the Tennessee Department of Transportation reminds you that you can be a part of the solution. End littering, a cause that is near and dear to my heart. We hope it is near and dear to yours. Be a part of the solution to end littering. Nobody trashes TN.com. Volunteer opportunities, just opportunities to give back financially, to support the great work that people are doing. I very gladly and proudly donate to TDOT and Nobody Trashes TN. I think it's a great cause. I also hate littering. I've got my little trash grabber that I walk around my neighborhood with my trash bag, put my AirPods in, maybe pop a gummy, have a big time as I'm cleaning up my neighborhood because I hate litter. I hate litter. It's bad for the community. It's bad for the environment. And ultimately, it makes you feel good to go pick up some litter every once in a while. So be a part of the solution to end littering at nobodytrashestn.com. All right, so here's the tweet from Brady Henderson. 36 head coaches have combined to win the first 59 Super Bowls. As the great Mike Sando noted, none of them, so not a single coach, won a Super Bowl as the team's defensive play caller. Mike Macdonald would be the first. So Brady Henderson adds in this tweet, I talked to Seahawks assistant head coach Leslie Frazier about the challenges of the dual role. So here is the thing that Leslie Frazier said about it, and we'll throw this quote up for you. The only way that was possible for Mike Macdonald to be the defensive play calling head coach was the staff has to be so strong around you because there are just some innate things as a head coach that you have to be a part of. And sometimes on defense, you can't be because in between series, a lot of times you're looking at the iPad and trying to figure out what am I going to call the next series? Well, there's a challenge situation, and you're the guy that has to throw the challenge flag, or we need a timeout. But if you're not in the game and understanding why we need the timeout, then everybody is searching for you. So I just thought it would be very difficult. I've seen offensive coaches do it because obviously 2-minute situations, the red flag, penalties, a lot of that happens on the offensive side of the ball. But to Mike Macdonald's credit, I think we've put together a strong staff and we've been able to help him with some of those chores and take some things off of his plate in between series. And here we are in the Super Bowl. Okay, so Mike Macdonald, who makes it look great, who's the Sean McVay of defense at this point in time, he has an all-star coaching staff surrounding him to make that possible. And also, he's excellent at calling defensive plays. I would say that as a defensive coordinator, he is better than Robert Saleh has been. Robert Saleh is very good. But situational awareness, a strong enough coaching staff surrounding you to make sure that you are properly supported in all these different things. And listen, to the Titans' credit, they are doing everything in their power to make sure that Robert Saleh can be able to do this and have Dable on offense and Gus Bradley helping him out as the defensive coordinator. But at the end of the day, if he's the play caller, there's only so much that Gus Bradley can do. Gus Bradley can't be like, all right, Robert, I'll go over things with the guys on the sideline. You go quickly and worry about why they just said that we need to throw a challenge flag here. But what if Robert Saleh has is the world is moving very fast around these guys in these situations. And it's not to excuse them, but this is how mistakes like Brian Callahan and Alec Iamaner, one elbow does not equal 2 feet, except it does, happens in a Denver game. And all of a sudden, you're looking at Robert Saleh like he's Brian Callahan and shredding the guy who's supposed to be helping him up in the booth because what the hell are you doing down there? Everybody can see this with 5,000 camera angles, except the coaches don't have 5,000 camera angles on the sideline. Like you sitting on your couch have an infinitely better perspective and grasp of what's happening in real time in a game than an NFL coaching staff does. And you may find that hard to believe. You could say, how the hell is that possible? But think about how many more resources you have sitting at home than they do while the proverbial bullets are flying all around them. It's a tornado on an NFL sideline. It's pure chaos. But it happens so much faster on the sideline than it does for you sitting at home with 17 different angles of all these different replays. I don't know that he's not going to be able to do it. I'm just saying, like, if we're looking for places where he's going to have to prove himself, that's a huge one. That's the biggest one to me. It's the biggest concern with Robert Saleh right now is, okay, this is a definitively difficult thing. No head coach. I'm not talking about the Titans going to the Super Bowl next year, obviously. Like, I don't think that's realistic at all. I think if they won between 5 and 7 games, that'd be a huge win for you. And that's basically where my expectations are. I don't think you're going to be competing for a division. I don't think you're going to be competing for a wild card next year. Of course, we'll wait to see how the roster plans out, or pays out, or works out as we move forward. But this is a lot of different things to ask of somebody who wasn't very good at them the last time he did this job. He's always allowed to get better, of course. Mario says we can only hope for the best right now. No pressure. No, it's always pressure. Always, always, always. For the money that they're paid, for the amount of interest that there is, for how many people's jobs depend on them getting right. No, it's Mario. It couldn't be. It's always pressure. Always. This is, I mean, they welcome the opportunity. That's what the money's for. Like, but you don't give them, you shouldn't give them. There should be always pressure on them to succeed, especially in a place like this. Like, expectations are low because the team has been dog shit and the franchise has been a joke for the last 4 years. That doesn't mean that I'm going to take any pressure off them if they continue this string of dog shit seasons that the Titans have had as a franchise. No, if anything, I'm cranking up, me personally, I'm going to crank up the pressure on them to succeed. All right, you've invested all these different things. You've heralded this all-star staff. You've talked about all the ways that you're going to do things differently, all the mistakes that you're going to learn from. All right, turn it up. Like, let's see you do it. No, always, always, always pressure in these jobs, and should be. Again, for what they are and what they're worth, there is always highly pressurized situations that this coaching staff and every other coaching staff in the league will have to move forward on. MB says it's February. It's way too early to make any conclusions. Nobody's making conclusions. If you think I am, you're not listening to me. What I'm saying is this is a huge situation to monitor, and is he going to be good at it or not? I have no idea. He's going to have to prove that he is. The fact that he is unproven is the only conclusion that I could draw. They have to show that they are good at this, right? I'm not assuming that they're going to be good at this. You might assume that they're going to be good at this, and you might, be hoping for the best, as you should. You're a fan. I'm not mad at you for hoping for the best and wishing for them to do well and all these different things, for wanting your team to not be the laughingstock, one of the biggest laughingstocks in the NFL, the way that the Browns and the Jets are. You're basically the Browns and the Jets the last couple of years. Nobody is drawing conclusions about anything right now. I'm just saying yellow flag situation on it. Well, not a challenge or rather a penalty, but like a situation to monitor moving forward. We are going to see how they do. We are not going to be able to see how they manage all of this until we actually get in the shit. And we're months away from that. I'm just saying that for me is the starting point of, all right, of all the things that you said you're going to do differently, that's the biggest one. That's the most impactful one in game. Let's see if you're up for it or not, because Leslie Frazier just made a great case why very few people are able to successfully pull this off. And Mike McDonald's a bit of a wizard this way, and also has the kind of coaching staff that the Titans have hired around him at this point. They have hired around Salah, for example. Seattle's coaching staff is as good, if not better. I mean, they're in the Super Bowl, so they're obviously better than anything that the Titans have to offer right now. But it's going to take the perfect staff, the perfect combination of things, and also Salah being better than he's ever been in this situation, with more responsibility than he's ever had as a head coach. He's going to have to be the best version of himself. We will see if they are up to the challenge. It's a fascinating, fascinating science experiment this year. So we will table that discussion, obviously, until we get more information. And in the meantime, we'll do a little rising and falling. Whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week in sports? We will talk about it together right after I remind you that this Saturday, Simon Says Nashville is having their 1-year anniversary party at their Wedgwood, Houston location. Awesome space. Deals for 30% off, 40% off on so many great items of clothing that you will not be able to find anywhere else. You can dress better. I know you can. I see a lot of you. I meet a lot of you. I love all of you. Some of you dress like slobs. Simon Says Nashville is going to dress you to impress, to get you to be the best version of yourself. Look good, feel good, play good, get paid good. All those different things. SimonSaysNashville.com, the premier men's clothing spot in Nashville. All right, so whose stock rose, whose stock fell this week in sports? I would say this week in sports, stock up Mike Vrabel. He's the belle of the ball. He's coaching in the Super Bowl. I think he's the biggest star in the Super Bowl, where Sam Darnold and Drake May have not really arrived as star players yet. JSN is probably the best player on either team. in this game, but JSN is not an overwhelming. Like, I don't know how many people would say that Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best wide receiver in football. He certainly had a hell of a year this year. And it's setting up for such a perfect Mike Vrabel fuck you game type of situation, right? Like this is the kind of game that you used to win when he was coaching you all the time. The games you have no business winning. They should get thumped. They are the less talented team. They are significant underdogs, and I think they're going to win the game. I mean, obviously, we'll pick games on Friday with Brett Kern in studio, but this is the game he wins all the time when he has no business winning. And that's all the Patriots have done, is win games that they have no business winning in ways that they have no business winning by, right? It's the exact formula that saw you have so much success when he was coaching here. I think they're going to win. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be one of the ugliest games of the season. I think they're going to drag Sam Darnold into the dirt. And I think that is where the Patriots want to exist. Because, again, I've seen that formula. It worked for you for 6 years here. And I think that is going to be, it's all setting up for being that kind of a game, a Vrabel game, if I ever saw it. So, stock up Mike Vrabel, stock down Washington Post today. And listen, I know people, like, especially fans, they don't give a shit about media or journalism or any of these things. Like, maybe some of you do. I don't think people really care about the death of media, the death of journalism, all these different things, or the death of, like, traditional media, right? Certainly the way that journalism is being eroded is something that people like me care very deeply about. And it hits home today when you see the entire Washington Post sports division, one of the most famous sports sections in all of American sports journalism history. Tony Kornheiser, Dave Sheinin, Michael Wilbon, Sally Jenkins, so many historically phenomenal the people that made you want to work in sports growing up all came through the Washington Post sports section. And today, Jeff Bezos, in one of the most chicken shit moves I've ever seen in my life, somebody who he's the fourth richest person in the world, and gave this big grandstanding speech about he was going to buy the Washington Post a couple of years ago and give it the financial support it needed to succeed. And it's not just the sports section. He laid off, his management team that's running the Washington Post on his behalf, laid off their Ukraine war correspondent while she is still overseas in Ukraine. They laid off all three of the four journalists that they sent to Milan to cover the Olympics. They're in Milan right now, watching on a Zoom call as they get laid off, all but one of them, as they're already in Milan. It's so embarrassing, especially when I see people like the New York Times doing at a high level, seeing a 10% revenue increase because they bolstered their subscribers through sports by purchasing The Athletic, to see the Washington Post make a decision that's not being forced by any market changes or any kind of changes to the way that journalism is being done. They've just made a choice to slash costs to one of the most important journalism outlets for sports that there's ever been. And it made me very sad today. And I don't know how many casual fans care about that. I just think you've probably appreciated somebody's work at the Washington Post, at least in the sports side of things. We don't have to get into political columnists or, all these different elements of journalism. I'm just saying from a purely sports standpoint, that kind of broke my heart a little bit today, because I love all of those people that I just mentioned. Guys like Barry Zerluga, I always butcher that name, who's currently one of their columnists. So many awesome people that you look up to in this business. And now their legacy just got literally erased because of an accounting error. It's just garbage. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate your participation. As always, thank you for hanging out with us. Nate Washington on the show tomorrow as we do our normal Thursday program. We'll have some Greg Cosell analysis of the Super Bowl as well. We will look forward to your presence with us from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone.
He's a hoe, and I want that known. Like, I see why he got punched in the nuts, because that's some, like, he says some